technology gets, it always wire. And it drives me nuts because in my house, I don't know, with the kid, everything's plugged into something, right? We go through more Apple wires. I gotta learn how to make them soon.
I just bought a new like 3-pack of like the 8-foot ones for specific locations. I told my wife, I'm like, these are mine. I'm like, touch yours. I'm like, these are my 3 locations.
We labeled the bricks with the kids' names so they each have a chart. Like you can go to any outlet you want. My outlets are wearing out. You put it in and it just kind of slowly falls out because they're constantly all over. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, they sell those locks where you put it up to the outlet and it locks it in. You can't remove it.
Yeah, I gotta.
You gotta screw it. You gotta screw the whole.
Yes, you gotta.
That's what I'm gonna have to
Talk
do.
about how we humans just don't have enough like
We have to,
discipline
yeah.
to do that.
I'm pretty close. I think we're going through remotes like I can't believe too. We just keep buying the knockoff remotes on Amazon. My wife yesterday is like, I'm gonna do like the hospital. They're all getting cords, and it's like an 8-foot cord from the TV, and then you got to go put it back. Yeah.
And what's up with remotes and children and all missing?
Oh, yeah, good luck with that.
I haven't had decoy remotes for the 1-year-old.
The battery.
Well, it's a good remote. I mean, decoy remotes and then I have to work.
And I can't get, you used to have a universal remote that did your TV. I don't even watch TV, but now I have remotes for the TV because with the smart TV, you need the smart remote. But then I'm maybe the last person left with a cable box. So then there's a cable remote. We never have both remotes at the same time. One is somewhere else. Oh, well.
I can't get the new smart remotes to connect to my speaker. So I've just been watching TV off, like literally for the past 6 months off the audio from the TV.
Yeah.
Not like from
No, it's over. The more and more technology we have, the less we could just make it do what it's supposed to do. We're also the last generation that's ever going to know how things work. So it's a common problem. Schools are even seeing it, that kids don't actually know how any of this stuff works. We had to know how to do it. Cameron, maybe not, and Sal, you guys are on the bottom end of it.
I would say like I'm on that cusp.
But we had, like, you went to computer lab and they taught you, all right, put the disk in, that's where the data is, and that's the software, and this, there's an operating system, and like you have this understanding of how it's supposed to fit together, and hardware and software and everything. Kids now, it's just that, like, what do they do? What do they do when their iPad's not working? Mom, can you fix my iPad? Can you connect to your phone? It's not connecting. And they don't know how to actually connect to a different Wi-Fi. They need help with everything. And I laugh because my parents at my age, basically, I was graduating high school, anything technology, it was handed to me. Can you make this work? And I have it now on both ends. Can you make this work? I don't know.
It's true.
Amazon went down for a couple hours yesterday. Amazon Web Services, which runs like 70% of the internet. I'd be pretty happy if it just all stopped working permanently.
It's like losing your phone on vacation. The first hour is the worst hour of your entire life, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is actually fun.
Remember the governor of Illinois tried selling Obama's Senate seat, and he went to jail for it. Blagojevich, whatever his name was.
I just know his hairdo, man.
I remember that.
So I remember reading something he put out. He was in prison for years. It wasn't until about 3 years. Now that was BlackBerry time. I mean, it's hard to remember what technology was used, but he had a BlackBerry. And if you remember your BlackBerry, it was going off buzzing constantly, whether it was BlackBerry Messenger, text, but email. All your emails at that time, email was text messaging. So it was always buzzing. He was feeling the buzzing in his pocket. Now he's an inmate. He didn't have a phone, but he would constantly feel the buzzing in his pockets that he didn't even have pockets. The phantom buzz, which we all have, for 3 years of being in prison before it stopped. So
that's almost
yeah.
You just got pardoned.
So Adam doesn't have a slot
Yes.
anymore because we're using.
Well, we'll get him in. Establishing trust is better than any sales technique. How many of us sell in real estate? How many of us really sell in real estate? When you're getting a listing, how much of the listing process is selling? There's 2 answers, and they're both correct. All of it. It's all part of it. Kirk Miller used to say it's the theater of the thing. That's all sales, is setting the stage. But how much of it looks like selling furniture or selling cars? Zero. Because it's really not until the listing paperwork that sales might start happening. You're hoping the process was so good that you really don't have much selling at the end, but that's pie in the sky. It's really all about establishing trust. When we go through our listing presentation, what are we doing with the step, the first step? We hand them the pre-printed book or the custom book. Hey, this is something I'm going to leave with you until I come back next time. What are we doing with the getting to know you as we go through their house? Before we even go through their house, what do we do? Hey, can we sit down at the kitchen table a few minutes? I want to ask you some questions. And it almost should sound like you're in Law and Order. So tell me, what is your plans with the move? Where do you plan on going? Do you need help with that move? What about this house made you fall in love with it when you purchased it 20 years ago? What's most important to you in selling your house? I usually like to say, and I know price is always number one for everybody. That's an important part of it. But what's number two? Well, I really want to make sure my cats don't get outside. I really want to make sure the agent's going to do what I say. I want somebody I could trust. All of that is starting that building trust and establishing trust. The better you do with that, the less selling you're going to feel like you're doing. Lorraine, are you comfortable making people uncomfortable to get the sale? No. Maria, are you?
No.
Sal might be. He's not uncomfortable with it. That's not, listen, that's not a bad thing. That's a compliment. He's not uncomfortable with, I really want to get to work for you. And please, let's, get some let's get this signed, even if it takes you another 3 months to get your house listed. Albert's comfortable with that. He's been in sales his whole life. Most of us, though, aren't going to be super comfortable with that hard sell. What does that mean? You need to do a better job of this, so there's less of that in the end. Hello, yellow. Oh, I left my vest on. I wore this god ugly shirt today, because we did. They gave us t-shirts for day one, and then they wanted you to wear yellow. It is true. When you have this color, you should use it more. So I'm working on right now a full yellow suit, like Jim Carrey wore in The Mask. Yes, if I gotta get a Savannah Banana, I wish I owned that team. We'd be printing money. So tell me something good. Who's working on something good?
Well, I got something good.
Yeah.
I got a house in contract, and they are now gonna sell their legal two-family in front of it.
So he's got at least 2 deals out of 1 client, right? What are the chances you're going to get your own deal on it?
I'm hoping yes, but probably not.
It's a good chance.
50-50 is great because on average it's only about 20% of the time can you get your own transaction. So if Sal feels like it's 50-50, that's a good thing. He might get 3. What if the buyer of the legal 2 has something to sell? Probably not. He might get 3. What if he builds a relationship with an investor who's looking for other houses? That gives him an opportunity to go call every 2-family homeowner in Farmingdale. So great job. What else? You got it. What?
My listing's live.
Which
Well
one?
done.
In Amityville?
No, right here in Farmingdale.
Awesome. Good job.
Got it
Oh,
all
nice.
together.
Awesome. Yes, that's right. Nice guy. That was all about establishing trust, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How many times did they walk
And
in?
they said to me the next day when for the photos, the guy was like, Larry doesn't stop calling over here. But we gotta tell him.
That's more of a he's using more of his sales technique than building that trust, right? I think there's some good reasons for that. That's awesome. Good job. And it really was building trust with 4 different family members and 1 spouse, right? Estate sales. We're going to learn more about estate sales. That's what happens. Who ends up picking the listing agent in estate sale a lot of the time? Well,
One,
it is
one of the siblings.
The most obnoxious sibling is going to choose the realtor every time. And if you have 3, it's the worst because you have 2 that are together and close and tight. And I don't even care if my brother but there's almost always the one that's really difficult. These 2 pick a realtor. This one's a pain in the ass. What do these 2 end up saying? All right, you have somebody you like better. I don't even think they're good, but at least we'll keep moving on the process. Divorces work the same way. The more insane spouse picks the realtor. Sometimes it's whoever's still in the house, but a lot of times it's going to be whichever spouse is more insane. So how did you never have actually dealt with the
2 the first day, two the other day, and then the third one came in, and then the wife, and I just met everybody. And
That's
How did you meet the
I
guy?
answered every question. They said they
walked
were
in.
very helpful and very informative.
Oh,
they walked in.
Yeah.
Alessandra had a similar situation. All the sibling, I think there were 5 in that
Yeah.
case, were on the same page, except for one who really wanted to go with another realtor. She finally is able to kind of connect with him. If you could connect with the crazy sibling, that takes out some of the I'm doing what I want. What is that crazy sibling really? What is the motivation? What are they? And we're gonna just leave right into you if that's all right, because we're here. What is that sibling who feels on the outs? What kind of emotional thing are they working through?
They want to have power.
It's something.
Maybe they just want to get even
It's a sibling
on the
rivalry.
power
Or-
dynamic. They're all together. I'm on my own. They've been screwing me since I'm 4 years old. They've been stealing my cookies every, at dessert, and they would never throw me the ball in football, whatever. And this is my chance maybe to get even.
That's typically the guy that says I've been taking care of mom for the last 7 years, and the other one's never been around.
But you've been living there for free. You've been living there for free. That was your rent. No, it wasn't. You never came around. I didn't come around because you were there and you're such an ass. But a lot of times it's about trying to feel like I'm not going to get left out of the process. They're going to pick their realtor. Those two are making all the decisions. They're the ones who are, you know, I'm going to get screwed, or I'm not going to have any idea what's happening. So if you can meet with that one, build some trust and say, look, I'm not their realtor or your realtor. I'm the realtor for the house. I'm the realtor for the entire estate. It's my goal. And we could do this a lot of different ways. We could have a group text. So anything I know, you know, or I could just make a point to email, text you and email you and call you individually. Is that more work? Yeah, it's more work. Estate sales, the house is easy. I tell everybody the house is the easy part. That blind monkey could sell it. I got to get you through this.
Bringing the offers and presenting the offers.
What is the process for that? So build that trust by explaining how you're going to work that. And then don't be afraid to get paid a little more when the situation is going to require more work. If you got 3 siblings, well, you won't. 2 siblings, they're both on the same page, real easy. That might be the normal standard, whatever you think that is. I got 5 different people. They want 5 separate phone calls, 5 separate emails. These 2 kind of get along. Those 3 don't get along. That's going to be more work. You got to figure out how much more you should earn, right? So we do have an estate attorney here, estate trusts, wills, all that. You want to come up and say hello?
Sure.
I'll put the camera on so you could see if you're actually in it.
Maria.
No, like 2 or 3.
Squeeze by him.
So yeah, Adam Ansanelli, of counsel to Ansanelli Law Group. So I have a separate independent firm. I work together with my father, Ansanelli Law Group. He has a 5-attorney firm doing predominantly high-end estate tax and other consideration planning, $20 million plus clientele. Where my focus is your more bread and butter, your everyday life. Including a ton of real estate, because that's a building portion of my practice. During COVID, obviously expanded, and that is a nice client lead into, and I call it paid marketing and advertising. I'm getting paid to market and advertise myself as an attorney to the next generation of clients. So it's not, I just want your real estate deal and move it on. No. I want the estate plan. I want mom and dad in the room later on. I want aunt and uncle or grandma who's heading towards a nursing home, and what do we need to do? And then, of course, with the family, after the fact, mom passes, dad passes, grandma passes, whatever it is, to help guide them through the estate process, the administration, probate, or trust process, whatever the form may be, or the inheritance by operation of law. And that kind of goes to the point that you were making earlier about the decision maker in the room. Who's going to choose the realtor? Who's going to choose the attorney? That more obnoxious sibling. We have a rule in our office, especially in the estate planning realm, because mom and dad or other family members are often being brought in by their children to do this work. Yes, they're often coming proactively themselves, but more often than not, they're being brought in by their son or daughter saying, hey, we really want to sit down and really want to make sure that you have everything in order. So key to that is always, build the bigger tent, so to speak. I always make sure that, I just had a call yesterday and they're going to be coming in today. And I'm visiting mom and dad right now on Long Island. So I'd love to come during this week. Sounds like probably a decision maker, but I want to be sure. So I said, okay, And of course, you mentioned you had two siblings that are on Long Island, but happy to send them a Zoom link so they can be part of the conversation when we sit down with mom and dad. Making sure that if I don't have the decision-making child in the room, they're on Zoom, they're hearing me speak. We're building that level of trust and information and sharing that with them, which I always find kind of key to making sure that you get signed and you actually get the client at the end of the day because of that difficult sibling that may come in like a ton of bricks and say, how dare you meet with my parents, or who you think you are coming in, and everyone's going with you. No. I'm going to cause a fuss now because I wasn't included in the process, directly to your point. So yeah, do a ton of estate work. Always kind of looking for opportunities there wherever possible, because that can feed obviously a ton of different entities, whether it's estate auctions, real estate, lenders, you name it. Obviously there's a lot of needs that those families have. And to the key point to that first slide, building that trust is really kind of the key to my practice, the key to my clients, and of course, working with all of you guys, what else. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to get me to get more into it or not. I don't want to waste too much of your time up here. I could keep going for forever, so you let me know.
Why don't you go over what the difference is between an estate, a trust, a probate for a realtor? Like, what do we need to know?
Sure. So that is kind of key. And I do get that question a lot, even when I'm not on deals. Not my favorite phone calls, but sometimes my favorite phone calls, because again, I'm building the relationship stronger with a referral source of business. It's the, hey, I met this client, they're selling, I had one a few weeks back, they're selling mom and dad's co-op. Co-op was placed into a trust. And I'm hearing all these terms. Here's a copy of the trust. We're going to be listing it in a couple of months. I said, okay, send me the trust. I talked to the client. Now you think, okay, there's a trust, the house is in trust. Everybody take your word for it. Absolutely not. In this world of trusts and estates, you gotta verify. You have to make sure you see the deed, you see the title document. In this case with the co-op, it's that stock certificate, right? Send me a copy of stock certificate. That's mom and dad's name. That's, dad passed. So was it placed in the trust? Well, the attorney that did it never placed it in the trust. It's completely waste of time trust. Just taking an assumption could have cost valuable months because they were going to get ready for listing. He was trying to find a place for mom first, who mom survived. Then you're going to say, okay, mom and dad on a deed, or mom and dad on a stock certificate. Perfectly fine. Mom inherited, right? A married couple in New York inherits real estate on the death of one spouse. Typically true. Also true with co-ops, unless the married couple bought that co-op prior to, I can't never remember, it's either 95 or 96, but it's mid-90s. Right? I think it's Jan 1, 1996. If a married couple bought a co-op prior to January 1st, 1996, they do not enjoy rights of survivorship. It just doesn't work that way. So half of that co-op is now sitting in dad's estate, and there was never an estate brought for dad because everything else went by operation of law to mom, the joint bank accounts and everything else. So thankfully we were able to get ahead of it, get an estate proceeding going for dad. For whatever reason, the client, because I think the attorney who was doing the trust felt bad, said they would do it on a discount. So now we're dealing with those delays because they're doing the estate. Of course, they're screwing that up as much as they screwed up the trust. But once it comes around, it's under contract now with the knowledge that the estate's been processing for a while and we'll have the letters eventually. And that's part of the process, is really identifying, hey, this client said they have a trust, or this client said dad passed, do they need an estate? I'm always happy to check the deeds. I'm always happy to check the estate filings, the records, to make sure that it is properly titled. Because the death of one spouse automatically inherited by the other. No one needs to do a deed transfer. No one needs to put it into any sort of form. They can go, death certificate, ID, thank you very much, I'm the surviving spouse. But if it's in a trust, I'm going to be able to read that off the deed, to the trustee of the whatever it is, usually a son, daughter, or themselves. And you need to make sure you have a copy of that trust, because I had another one where, and I get a lot of these because again, people go, towards areas where they know I can read through the deal sheets, where dad was selling his property, 72 years old. He put it into trust. Dad signed the listing agreement with the realtor. Dad had no authority over his own home. It was an irrevocable asset protection trust. Red flag immediately for me, because you can't be your own trustee of an irrevocable trust. So I said to the realtor, hey, I know we're going to contract, no big deal. I'm going to recommend, I got a copy of the trust now from the client. The three sons are the trustees of this trust. These are the only three that have an authority to bind a listing agreement, a contract, or anything. So just real quick, make sure you just have them sign off on the listing agreement, just to make sure everything's done properly, so you don't get screwed up at the end of the day because you didn't have authority to list and sell this house and you can't get your commission now, which would be ridiculous. But you never know when the client's gonna go south on you and try to screw you out of something. So you wanna make sure you have that proper party signing, understanding the terms of the trust. You know, a trust lives outside of the estate. It's like an LLC or a business. It survives the decedent, nice and easy. It allows that next generation or the surviving trustee to go ahead and immediately sell the property. We don't have to wait for probate. We don't have to wait for the administration process. Administration, no will. Probate, there's a will. And depending on what county that is, you know, they change. Right now, if you've got a decedent with no will in Suffolk County, you're looking at a 4 to 6 month timeline if the estate's done correctly for letters to be issued, for the authority, the letters of administration to be issued. Nassau County, for whatever reason, all of a sudden, it's about a month turnaround time for properly done administration.
It's Tuesday, that's the reason.
Yeah, well, yeah, for properly done administration proceeding in Nassau County. Properly done is key. You make one mistake, you're going to the back of the line. And you know, it's a very complicated process. I'm not denigrating attorneys that make little mistakes. It happens. It happens far too often, and it's very frustrating. You could forget to check a box and put you to the back. It's just they're very specific. Everything has to be perfect on these very simple forms, but it has to be perfect, and that's the bottom line. So it's a month in Nassau right now for administration proceedings only. Probate proceedings are 3 to 6 months. Why the difference? Because of different clerks, different departments, different workloads, and that changes. Suffolk County up until this year was less than 3 months for administration proceeding. All of a sudden, I'm pulling 60 days into a filing saying, hey, I haven't even got a file number yet. Yeah, we're way behind. It's going to be at least another 30 days. And I can't even follow up. I can't do anything. So understanding those timelines, that way when you know you're speaking to the attorney, I'm always available for a phone call. Hey, this guy told me he'll probably have it done in 2 months. Just check out the filing, make sure there's no errors, see if there's something that we have to watch out for, or let us know, is that a realistic timeline before we put all this work in and go to contract with somebody who's not going to last, you know, and wants an escape clause after 60 days, you're probably wasting your time. But there are ways to that point of listing and getting it sold, not closed, but getting it into contract during the estate process, as long as everyone's on the same page and everyone's filing it appropriately, no one's rate locking until you get letters issued and things like that. So it can be complex. No reason for the property to sit around, and just making sure that decision maker it's the number one thing. It's making sure the right person is who you're dealing with it. Because I do see that far too often, including the you know the trust and the mom, dad, and everything else. You just gotta know who you're working with.
What situation would differentiate just a regular filing to probate?
A will. So if a will creates a probate proceeding, that's what the probate is. It's taking the will and presenting it to the court and saying, hey, mom and dad had a will. It says this. Here it is, it's legit, I promise. And then the court goes to the filings and says, yeah, we're gonna say the will is legitimate and we're gonna move it forward. And that's probate versus an administration proceeding, no will, nothing whatsoever. And versus a trust, no proceeding whatsoever. It's in trust, immediately listed, sell it. No one needs to wait at all, but you do want to make sure that you verify that the property was placed into the trust. It's not just co-ops, which I see it all too often, where the deed transfer is never effectuated by the attorney. It's sloppy work. They do a trust and they never fund it, and everyone's going around thinking that the property is in trust, and it's not. You know, Suffolk County, Nassau County, these deeds are available right online. You know, they take a few minutes to get, $5 to get in Suffolk County, like $2 in Nassau. And if you can't find it, any title company that you all work with can pull a copy of that deed for you. You know, relatively easy, usually around $80 to find a very old deed and make sure, hey, is this properly titled, or is this titled the way we think it is titled before we go ahead and do all the work for this client? Yeah, good question.
Questions?
Yeah.
Boy,
It's a lot. The key is making sure that you know how it's properly titled and making no assumptions on an estate trust or otherwise. Well, it's like anything else. You want to make sure you're not wasting your time with the wrong person in the room.
and I think it's more important than ever, because what are we seeing? The bulk of our listings we're getting are
Death and divorce.
Death and divorce. Yeah. Some people sell.
Everybody else is
so
fine.
away from the 3% interest rate on the mortgage. you know, it might be getting a little more attractive to open the door a little bit to those that have been waiting to sell, upgrading or whatever, you know, I think 5.5% will do it.
Consumer debt is helping that come along too.
It's, you know, and who knows, maybe that next kind of foreclosure on the minimum level, at least in New York, might come around, but. You know, until then, most take
The
years.
problem with like foreclosures now is they have so much help with loan modifications, forbearance, like they just help people stave it off and then.
Even a successful foreclosure, it's gonna take 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's not a, yeah, that's something to worry about years and years down the road when you get it. But yeah, no, it's just after divorce, but that's that right line.
So if you get that call first, mom and dad passed, thinking of selling, they don't know what the hell's going on. Adam would be a great resource.
Yeah, even if I don't end up getting a listing, I get it. People have their own attorneys, realtors have preferred. I'm happy to look into it. And again, that for me, that's building trust, that's building relationships, and eventually maybe something does work out of it. But I'm always happy to verify and look into things, or whether clients or you as the professionals involved.
And then what about us personally, like putting our own assets into trusts?
Always happy to have that conversation. Yeah, no, I do a
You
lot of
also do all that.
I do the so the way I phrase my practice, it's trusts, estates, estate administration, and real estate. So all of those things, and it's small, you know, it's focused, it's specialized. I don't do criminal work, PI work, or any of that stuff, matrimonials, none of it. But it's in the same realm because the vast majority of people's estates and their trust assets, it's real estate. I mean, in New York especially, we're not dealing with IRAs, you just updated beneficiaries, things like that. And working with the clients before they pass away, making sure that things are in trust or properly set up to make sure that they avoid probate to the extent they can,
Yeah.
or protect their assets, and that's a major thing, and that's a very rapidly growing area of our practice. So it's going to be a rapidly growing area of real estate because what we're protecting 99% of the time is real estate and asset protection trusts, irrevocable trusts. That's those trusts where mom and dad are not the trustees, the kids are the trustees.
Now, the reason people want to do that, why it's becoming so popular, if a house is worth 800,000, that's a big asset. You expect you're giving that asset to your kids. But if you end up in a nursing home needing pretty serious care for 3 or 4 years,
Your house. Right?
that's gonna go through Medicaid, state of New York, and correct me if I say anything wrong. That's gonna cost a couple $100,000 a year. So you could potentially end up where the county is going to have a lien on the house for all or most of what it's worth. Both numbers get really big really fast. The house is a big number, but so is that long-term care. For a little while, you started seeing people taking out long-term care insurance to protect or hedge against Medicaid. But then it turned out most of those companies kind of sucked and wouldn't really.
They won't sell it anymore, it's so
Right.
expensive.
So it's all the state's the only game in town, Medicaid's the only game in town. So the way to get around that is get your house into a trust at least 5 years before you're gonna need a nursing home. And now, when the state goes to lien the property,
Yeah, it's
Well, the
not-
county,
it's not your asset.
it's not their asset. It's essentially the way a lot of us should think of it is it's in a separate corporation, right? Which is essentially what trust, separate legal entity.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing you have to be careful of is you don't put the trust in your kid's name if they're like a dirtbag.
You can have different, you can have sub-trust provisions within the trust, but everything you're saying is 100% correct. You're cognizant of the 5-year look back.
Yeah.
Because any transfers that you make for a lack of consideration, giving it away in excess of $10,000, and of course, a real estate transfer would be that, creates a penalty for Medicaid. They won't pay 1 month of care for every $10,000. So you can imagine I give my $800,000 house to my kid, and then I try to go for Medicaid. That's 80 months. Yeah, 80 months of penalty for Medicaid. They're not paying for it. I'm gonna be dead well before that runs through. So now I've got to go in my pocket, or they're going to lien my assets, they're going to try to recover assets back, and they're gonna go after those things. Not to mention by giving my house to my kid that I bought for $60,000 in 1970, and now it's worth $800,000. I just gave them a cost basis of $60,000. So when they go to sell that house in a few years for $1 million, they're paying capital gains on that $900,000+. Probably roughly around 20% worth of capital gains. That's nasty. Completely avoidable. Put the house in trust. You put it in an irrev asset protection trust. That's irrevocable on paper. It's not irrevocable in reality. You can revoke these trusts. There's always a backdoor access.
Mhm.
You do it in your late 60s, early 70s. It allows that 5-year clock to run and then some. You don't feel it, you don't lose your personal tax exemptions, whether it's a volunteer firefighter exemption, star, enhanced star, senior star, you still maintain all of those. All income tax exemptions. In the next couple of years, we have our salt taxes back. The mom and dad still retain the right to salt tax deductions on your properties. Interest deductions because of their mortgage, you name it, it's taxes if you own it, which is a good thing. Because it gets that full step up in basis on death too. So when I die, my house in that trust then passes to my kids or in certain trust vehicles because, you know, maybe I have a child that has a special need. And I want to make sure that they don't lose the benefits they get from the state. So their share is going to drop into a supplemental needs trust within that trust to make sure that they can have their cake and eat it too, literally. So their inheritance goes into a special needs trust, supplemental needs trust, to supplement, not supplant, the care that the state's already paying for. Marry the kid out there with a drug and alcohol addiction, I'm going to make sure that his sister is completely in charge of his funds and has absolute authority over every single dollar spent. He still inherits, but sister gets full authority over that inheritance. And of course, there's a little provision in that trust that says if anybody challenges my decisions as the parent, you will lose and you will get nothing. So accept how I left it for you. And then, of course, the sister gets right there and outright because she's the golden child and almost, you know.
And that's why you have the siblings all fighting over who picks the real.
And it's that sister who you're going to need in the room because, you know, that's the one who wrangles her brothers and takes care of it. These trusts
It's
are
usually the sister.
It is. It's look. It's I don't know what it is, but the boys typically step back. You know, my sister she needs to be in the room. She's going to make the decisions, and she's also often the one caring for mom and dad. You know, it's usually the daughters that are stepped up and in the home. Oftentimes, when there's a son in the home, they're not caring for mom and dad. They're living off mom and dad, unfortunately. But you got to deal with that. You know, we just closed on a property on Wednesday. It was to an investor. It was actually to the assignee of the investor. You know how those go. You know, it's tenant occupied. It's the brother. He's 45 years old. Never left the house. Won't leave the house. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm his sister. I've taken care of him long enough. I'm selling mom and dad's house and making sure we can sell it. We closed. The brother's still there. I'm still dealing with the brother. Even though we sold the property, I'm settling out the trust that the property was in, and I'm going to have a receipt and release so that he can't sue his sister after the fact, even though she walked away with 80% of the money, which was what the trust said. He'll get his check once he signs off. And as a courtesy to the buyer's counsel and everybody else, because it came up in conversations, I'm actually going to be coordinating his exit from the premises with a little extra cash as a sweetener, but that's also part of the release. So there's all sorts of ways to skin the cat. You know, at the end of the day, the investors will buy it. And I told them, stop, don't talk to this tenant anymore. You're making it worse because he smelled blood in the water. And sure enough, they didn't stop. So now they're going to be paying $20,000 to him as well to get him out. But everyone gets a nice house in Syosset for $750. That's going to be, you know, torn down and built into something gorgeous and probably sold for $2.5. So everybody wins. But yeah, the IREF trusts are very popular. Those are the ones.
Sister who only sold it for $750.
Yeah, well, you know, at this point, especially now that 2 weeks later the brother's going to be leaving after all the negotiations. Whatever. I didn't, you know, she came to me with the buyer and everything else. So I'm not going to kill a deal.
At the end of the day, the sister gets to go to bed every night. I'm not the one who evicted my brother, the buyer did.
Correct. Well,
That
in this case, she wouldn't care, but yes, typically they do care. No, this one would have been happy to be the one who picked it up, unfortunately.
Look, speaking of, I think it was Syosset or Plainview, some of these things go really, really awful and the worst types of things that end up happening. So you want to really try to bring everybody through it in a way that, you know, everybody can go home the next day and whatever that family relationship is, it is. I tell, you know, a lot of times you're talking to the rational sibling who might live out of state and is, you know, I'm here for 2 weeks and I just want to have this all settled. It's not a natural position for 3, 2, 5 siblings to be business partners, right? Especially in your 60s, where, you know, you might have did the holiday, 2 holidays, you saw some birthdays, sent some texts, but you have not had to make group decisions as a family since you turned 18 maybe. And now you own this house together that was mom and dad's house. And that's not a natural position for people to find themselves in. Making it more difficult is there's spouses involved. So why are you the one going to the house to clean it out? Your lazy brother's not lazy. He lives out of state. Well, you should be getting more money than, yeah, all right, you're right. And they're all getting lots of different voices in their head. The faster you can get it listed, the faster they don't have to make those decisions anymore. The faster you get into contract, the less they really have anything to do. Because once they sign the contract, it's just, I'd like to say 45 days later, but it's more like 75 days later, you close. And that's it. They get their money and they all are family again instead of business partners. So my feeling always is get in, get as many signatures as you can until you figure out who's the right one, and then kind of back into the rest. But the faster you get that process moving, you do feel that temperature move down. And usually it's the most stressful for that family right up until they list it. Once the sign goes on the street, on the lawn, usually everybody sort of settles back into, wait and see mode. And that's what you want to get to as quick as you can.
Because you're stepping in there to your point of they're not used to working together. They need mom or dad to make the decisions. You're stepping into that role. You're making the decisions for the family, but guiding them so that they feel like they're the ones making that decision. Yeah. That's a great point.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That was, I think we had some hard.
Yeah.
I don't have to
did
talk
great.
anything crazy, most people would know.
Stack of cards, stack of pens. So if you love these pens, if you're lefty, you probably hate these pens because they do share, but they know quickly. They do have my number on it. And if you do call the office, because we do, we're not a large shop, but there's 7 attorneys in there. Of course, I'm on counsel in the firm. As for myself, Adam or Laura. Laura's an attorney that works with me on all my real estate deals. And if you have Spanish speaking clients, Laura is bilingual. So
that's good to know.
Massive mark.
Patty, I don't know if you're on here, and Rich Jr., you both speak Spanish, so that's good to know. We had one Spanish speaking attorney years and years ago, and I think he didn't use it enough, so he didn't know how to speak Spanish well enough, or maybe he never did. How would you know? You send them over and they end up in contract, but
She
no
even
more.
goes to Spanish tutoring for like lawyers because they're speaking Spanish.
Yeah,
and
it's a
they're
whole
speaking
nother level.
legalese in Spanish.
Yeah.
No, she's very good.
And remember, is this, Jared, am I making this up? This might have been a mortgage thing. Cameron, you might know. Is it mortgages or real estate where whatever language you're actually speaking, the documents are supposed to be in the same language?
They just changed the.
That's mortgage,
They have
right?
a new Mortgage app that's in Spanish.
Yeah.
You can check the box.
Well,
basically
even for
request it.
insurance public adjusting states that in the body of it. This contract is written in the language that you understand.
Right.
And
So if they don't understand that, how do they know what they're signing?
It's even on the app.
This is
like
from across the
preferences
nation.
7-minute IP.
of what language you
Yes.
want to be spoken to.
All right, some new listings, 492 Nassau Boulevard in Williston Park, 799. That's a pretty low price for Williston Park, or it's the lower end of Williston Park's price range. So that's a great one. Congrats. What's that? It's already sold. You can't sell it.
We didn't get it in.
We have some new listings that just popped up that aren't in there yet. So Sal has a legal 2-family at 32 Nostrand in Farmingdale. It's really a 2-bedroom on the main floor. It's got a porch that at one time was a 3rd bedroom. So he did what all realtors do and he called it a 3-bedroom. On the main floor, unfinished basement with outside entrance, 2-car garage, nice yard, big driveway. And then upstairs is a true 2-bedroom apartment. And it is a legal 2 by CO, or really by letter in lieu. So it's legal. You don't have to live there or anything else.
49.
849. That's going to sell pretty quick. Maria just listed a colonial. Cape turned into a colonial, main floor, 2 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, living room. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom, but the bathroom has plumbing behind the walls. You used to see a lot, Albert would remember this. People would do their dormer.
Yeah.
And, they had some friends that, the coach on the kids' football team would come and frame it out for them, like shell only. And then you'd finish the inside and they'd run out of money for the bathroom. So that room, the bathroom, would end up just being a closet or something with the plumbing underneath. So ready to go.
But it's got a little apartment down there.
Finished basement with an apartment. Nice. Those are the best ones because you have the whole house and now you have the income. And what's that? Good. What's that?
It's 739.
739. Nice. Farmingdale, 29 houses on the market, 24 went into contract the last 30 days. It's a 1.2 month absorption rate. What are we seeing with this number? It's been trending up. Why? There's nothing to buy. Massapequa, 3 month supply of housing, 899. Hopog, 3 month supply at 824 for Hopog. Al, isn't that wild to see? Amityville, 2 month supply of housing for 649. Why are so many people going and buying those houses? It's more affordable. 2 doors presentations this week. Great job. I did one last week at an older couple's house. His health isn't so great. He's kind of just stuck in the chair. The wife is noticeably younger, but both retirement age. I swear they just brought me in because they had nothing to do. It's like, oh, this will be fun. It was a referral from the house at 15 Western until they saw the price I came up with. Like, really? I can get like 800 clear? Yeah. Maybe we'll actually sell it. You know, I just want to go get an apartment somewhere. I'll just pay rent. I have the money. They don't want to maintain a house anymore. So they're working through that. We'll see. I have a feeling it's a weekly appointment for them.
Was that Bay?
Yes. North Bay.
So since you guys won't do success track, I'm getting Sean to do a sales meeting for us.
All right.
You guys are gonna be stuck here.
Doing a success track live.
Oh,
Yeah, why not?
Albert's gonna make sure he's not here that day.
155. No, we're not going to tell you what day.
Sean was.
Sean's he's a 15 Monroe and Long Beach available 890. The 2 Gale Graces, one does have a deal that's being negotiated, but there's another one listed and 2 more that are actually now pretty much built that'll get listed as well. 91 Beverly Road in Babylon available 990. That's the typical new construction 4-bedroom 2-bath. All of them are. 1361. Isn't it kind of wild though when you look at this? Babylon Village for 990. Copeg Gale Grace is right off Great Neck Road for 895. It's interesting. Hewlett, Boxwood Drive in Hewlett, 1.9. There's some offers on it, but it's still available. Great Neck Co-op, 299. Just kind of, it's a little overpriced, hanging around. They'll get real soon. And then Nassau Boulevard in Williston Park, 799. 32 Nostrand, 849 2-family, and Walnut, 739. Got some rentals. We got a 3-bedroom apartment in New Hyde Park for 3,500. And the Islip's gone. He's gonna sell. Open houses. Sharon, do you know how many people showed up at Nassau Boulevard? It's got a pending, but I know it was busy. How'd you do over at Boxwood this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, not like a normal typical house here, it's much lower traffic, but.
Right.
Yeah, we had a few coming.
As long as you're having 1 or 2 on a $2 million house, you're doing great. Harriet Drive was very busy, and they have a deal on it over ask. And then Gale Grace, I think, Rich, do you if you could hear and participate, I think you had like 4 over there. Online business game. So remember, people are searching in. Actually, do you know that on Google, when you go to a Google search, there's AI mode?
Yep.
When you click AI mode, it's going to give you AI search results. It's not only when you use Gemini. So Google is moving from traditional search results to AI answers. Homes for sale in Farmingdale, best real estate agent in Farmingdale. You want to make sure you're coming up. It's a great opportunity for those of us who feel like, oh, I kind of missed out on the online game because I just wasn't even in the business yet. You need to start making sure your not SEO, search engine optimization, is right, but your AI optimization is.
Quick point to that, Bing. So ChatGPT pulls directly from Bing first as a primary source. So if you don't have a Bing business listing, you're gonna be overshadowed by those who do. It will go to Google afterwards, but primarily from Bing.
Makes sense, because
What's the thought?
Google and
Like,
ChatGPT are competing with each other.
GPT now, they made it so apps can get like used inside the application. So if you throw in like Zillow, if you're like a Zillow Premier lender or an agent, like now they're basically pushing those primarily.
And
So it means, like, you have to be
ChatGPT,
more on Zillow, more on Realtor.com.
AI is pulling directly from websites that are set up for AI to read. So Zillow is one of the sites the AI engines are pulling from. So your profile from Zillow all of a sudden matters again because it maybe didn't as much because maybe you weren't around. Maria, how easy would it be for you to compete with an agent who's been around a long time on Zillow? Well, they have 300 reviews. It's a 4.9. They have a list of, they used to be a premier agent, so they were paying Zillow. They get showed higher. Well, now your 5 reviews, but the reviews specifically say Farmingdale, waterfront, investor. AI will say this seems like the best realtor for you based on what you just asked. I'm an investor in Farmingdale. I'm an investor looking to purchase 2-family homes in Farmingdale. It's going to try to find the most specific agent that's right for them. I told you that's how I look things up. We were thinking about going to Sleepy Hollow Sunday with the kids. So I put into ChatGPT. My family wants to go to Sleepy Hollow on Sunday. We will get there around 2 p.m. I have an 11-year-old boy, an 8-year-old boy, and a 5-year-old girl. Tell me the top highlights of what we should do at Sleepy Hollow. They were boring as anything. We decided not to. We just I wasn't going there to listen to someone read a book, that was going to be boring for the kids. So we decided not to go. For all I know, there's some amazing stuff there, but I didn't feel like going through their calendar. Their website was kind of a mess. So I asked AI, if you're not optimizing for those prompts, you're going to miss out. But here's the thing. Do you think Larry Theodore is figuring out the best way to show up in AI? So you have a fresh new opportunity to take advantage of, to supplant him. Local expertise, make sure there's an FAQ. FAQs are a great way for Zillow for AI to grab from. So what you want to do is ask not questions you think are frequently asked in person, but in AI. What prompts are there? You want to list those prompts out and then answer them. Who's the best agent in Farmingdale? Joseph Garcia is the best agent in Farmingdale. His community experience, and give ChatGPT and Gemini and all the others, give them the answer you want them to give the client. What is the average home price in Farmingdale? Now that if you have that out there, you're going to have to update it. How long does it take to sell a house in Farmingdale? Is Long Beach a good place to buy a vacation home? Whatever it might be, right? Buying and selling process. People who are using AI are going to finish their appointment with you and then go in AI and ask, is it true houses in Farmingdale are selling for, on average, 2% over the asking price? Put some of that in there. Why should I hire Joseph Garcia as my real estate agent? What makes Joseph Garcia different from other real estate agents? You want to answer these things because that's what AI is going to grab from. Where can you post an FAQ?
Your business page on Google.
Your business page on Google, actually, that's a good spot too, because you can put blog posts and things in there. On YouTube, in your video description, they allow you to put a lot of stuff there. YouTube's a big one it's pulling from also, especially the Gemini one. What about your website? Who here has a website? All of us, right? You could have a separate tab for FAQ. You could just make blog posts. The more of that stuff you do, all those things they told you to do in like 2004 for SEO, and then once you were there, you tended to stay up there. And if you're not on the first page, it doesn't matter. How many of us ever go to page 2 of search results? Now, if on your mobile, it's like see more. There's never anything below that matters. It's only what's up at the top. So make sure, I forgot what I was saying about that, but you want to make sure, this is your chance. All those old things they told you to do in 2004, that blog post. I mean, where do you even post that stuff? Well, now it matters again.
And AI is lazy by default. It wants to give you quick, easy answers. So if you're one of the first that has a lot of this stuff and you're branded as whatever niche you are, you're going to show up quite a bit.
Do you know why AI is lazy? Because it's losing a ton of money on purpose. It uses a ton of electric to process the information. So the less time it could spend actually processing, the less servers they have to build and the less electric they're using. In fact, when they build these server farms, they have to cool them. They use it, they're almost like nuclear reactors with fresh water coming in to cool these things.
And if you don't like your answer, you can say dig deeper. You can do better AI.
And we had this conversation in Florida, I think, about AI making mistakes as well.
Yeah, that's actually.
People are calling it hallucinations, AI hallucinations, where it just makes up the data.
Well,
You'll
it's
hear,
not here, if you make a political debate or something, it'll take your side and give you facts that support your argument, not necessarily both sides.
yeah, it wants you to like AI, so it's going to give you the information you kind of want. Just like your social media shows you things you already are going to agree with typically. The other thing about that is hallucinate. Oh, you'll hear once a year a lawyer that gets disbarred because they used AI to do their legal filings and it makes up fake cases to cite. Well, in Smith versus the state of New York, the judge ruled, and it'll quote the judge in the ruling, and that case doesn't actually exist. Now it's getting better, and if you use a paid AI, you could actually tell it which cases. So you could say like use these, or you could upload those cases to your AI and say using these cases, write me this court filing. But you got to be careful. There's just another one where this person had a video. I guess court now is on Zoom, even like criminal court. This person,
You said Mark Sanchez.
this person had a lawyer. This person had a lawyer there, like on Zoom, and the lawyer starts talking, and the judge goes, "Wait a minute, counselor," and asks a question. It was what do they call it when it's a fake video of of somebody? Yeah, it was an AI bot. It was not Icon. What you just made one for your videos. Avatar. It was a lawyer avatar. The human on the Zoom speaking did not exist. So I think the guy got found guilty pretty quick.
Yeah.
Remember that video?
No.
Okay.
It was a Zoom appearance, and the guy had a cat filter on.
Oh, it was the judge.
He's like, bring a kid and put it on his
Yeah.
laptop. and get it out and take it off.
Your Honor, I'm so sorry, I'm not a cat.
Just correct.
The point is, to Al's point, some of this stuff isn't correct, so you got to go look, especially if you're using data. It's a little bit better when you say, here's this report. Like you could take an RPR or your PTA and say, and I do this a lot, using this price trend analysis, write me an introduction paragraph explaining why their house is worth $849. It's like this really good. No, that's too formal. Write it at an 8th grade reading level, which always sounds more natural. It takes off some of the Oxford like double dashes that only exist in AI because none of us know how to write that way. So if you're not using that stuff, you're in trouble. Mark sent us an article that like AI is going to drive 80% of the agents out of business. I don't actually believe it. It's going to drive some out. If you're not using AI, you're going to get replaced by agents that do. Absolutely. So use it in ways that are going to help you with your business. Marketing mistakes, marketing horrors that make clients ghost you. Ghouls and goblins haunt the fright of nights and Octobers. Bad marketing. How many of us have ever wrote for your real estate needs? Lawyers love to write for your legal needs. When you hear that, does that sound genuine? There's other ways. Anyway, ask AI, what's another way to say this? Let's see. So turning social media into a social media zombie. How many of us are guilty of going in and posting a lot of stuff right after the Weichert conference? I'm motivated. I got a whole bunch of posts I'm doing. And then like, you don't. You could automate that stuff. You could set that up to happen automatically, scheduled. At least something is going out there weekly. And then it really should be more genuine and automatic and dynamic. We were just talking about the AI. You could make videos of yourself using your avatar, which is you animated. And you know this now, you can take a picture and it'll animate. You could do the same thing with videos and then it'll blend it all together. You can make 10 social media videos in 5 minutes. ChatGPT, give me a 30-second script of for me to talk about real estate. You put that in with your avatar, you got your script, your avatar is going to do all the talking, and it's just you, right?
That's what, right, Jeff Loeb.
Jeff Loeb.
That was amazing.
It's real. It looks real.
Right.
I can't figure out my audio though. My voice sounds different.
Instead of publishing generic auto-created content, make a plan. What's the Brian Eisenhower plan?
And,
10, 10, 5. 10 comments, 10 likes, 5 direct messages. All right, isn't that what it is? You got to post 2. How many of us have social media in our calendar? 0. Maybe we should. Being abandoned in the dark. Is it hard for people to reach you? If they can't find you in 2 clicks, they're going to give up and move on. Is your phone number out there? How many of us don't want to put our cell phone on the internet?
I would say 50% of realtors, they
Is it
can't track
annoying?
down their email or phone number.
It happens when you need the CD, right? I need their license number. I want to call this agent. I can't find it.
Literally,
Now you get the office. How many offices even have anyone answering the phone? Less and less. It's like press this and now I just give up. I don't know. Just let the attorneys find the CD. Like I don't care if it closes this month. If it's that hard for the loan officer to find you, how much harder is it for that client? So you'd spent all this time. Joe Garcia, best agent, blog post FAQs. AI says you should hire Joe Garcia, and then they can't find you. Big mistake. Getting stuck in purgatory. You spend a lot of time getting people to see you, but we forget the call to action, right? Some agents are great at getting eyeballs on their social media. They do all these crazy videos. Dan with his jet ski and anytime I see Cameron, I think of Dan's social media for some reason. Driving a jet ski in a suit, great. And then what? There's got to be that call to action. Where do they go? Do you have a link to click to your site? Do you have a link to click to a property? What is the advantage of having them click on a My Weichert link, your website link? It goes into your CRM as a prospect. You now have contact information for them. Do we get accurate phone numbers when they click the link? Yes, because the only way you could log into your Facebook is with 2-factor authentication for a lot of people. So now you have the accurate cell phone number. Meta has it. They share it with us. Or that's how you reset your password. Don't let unrealistic pricing cost you your move. How many people want to overprice their house? Well, not everybody. Actually, I find it's 50-50. Half think it's worth more than you told them. The other half are like, I'm in an actual argument between 2 siblings selling mom's house. The sister is the son has power of attorney. The mom is making the decision, but the kids are going to handle everything. The son has the power of attorney, but the sister is the sister, the daughter, so she's a big part of it. I just think 749 is too much for this really nice split in a nice block in Farmingdale. No, it's not. Here's the comps. I don't know. It still seems too high. Do you want me to price it lower? I will. I mean, you don't have to twist my arm to make my job easier. So it's 50-50. You don't want to overprice. Less buyers will see the house. Cameron, how often do you see as a loan officer houses selling for under asking? Very rare. It's over usually, at or over. On average, in most of the areas we're working, it tends to be 2% over, which is interesting because that's probably the buyer's commission showing up in the transaction, right? When it goes 2% over, but we got to offer full price. Oh, well, I know if I don't want to tell the client this, but they got to pay my fee 2%. So, hey, I spoke to the agent. The full price is other offers. We probably should go about 2% over. Oh, all right, that sounds fair, and that's where you're seeing it. Buyers know I'm going to have to pay over asking, and some are selling for way more than that as well. So if you overprice it, what is the buyer saying? I might pay that, but I know I'm going to have to offer more. I'm not even going to look at the house. What are we seeing in the overall market, the USA? Buyers have more leverage in many, but not all the markets. You have to set based on what's actually happening in our market, set the price, right? So what is that sister I'm talking to probably worried about? She's probably hearing on the news that prices have gone down and it's a softening market. According to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, home values went up by a staggering 54% over the last 5 years. Does that sound crazy? Well, what would that be? So that would be about
$500,000.
200,000. Well, what? Right. So the house in 2019 for 500 is 750. That sounds exactly correct, right? It's a good thing Maria's good at math. I was going to screw that up. You're still way ahead. You did well. What does that mean for anybody who's owned their house 10 years? There's a ton of equity. Overpricing can stall your whole move. Sal is working with somebody who went into contract on the purchase because that's the harder one, right? It's harder to get into the new house than sell your current house. What if he overprices the legal two-family? He was very worried about that. He asked me to come take a look at it. I just want to make sure because it's got to go fast. They could blow their whole deal. They could blow the whole thing. And they don't have a contingency because you can't get one. So they're just out there in the lurch. By the way, when we feel uncomfortable with those situations, because it is like, it's got to come through. Everything's got to align. Knock on wood, they do because the market's so hot. In South Carolina, they do something called due diligence. It's a upfront fee, which is we've heard up to $20,000. If I don't close for any reason, seller, you keep the 20 grand, no matter what. There's no fighting for it. There's nothing.
For the inspection, so you do inspections after contract. If you're not comfortable with
Yeah.
what the
Walk
house
away and
condition
here's
is,
the 20.
that due diligence is gone.
Okay.
Yep. It's it just goes to show how different things could be. Anyway,
States, when all the states, if the inspection comes.
so believe it or not, that changed in the very late 90s, like 98, 99 was when the switch over happened. And by like 2001 and 2, it was over.
It stalls things so bad.
The home inspection used to happen. No, it's so much better.
Deals in like 3 weeks in Florida and South Carolina.
It's so much better.
It's like they just get a contract.
In New York, well, that's because the attorneys handle the contract and
It's like.
no offense to attorneys. It just it's clunky. They're not driving around with the paperwork. So when we used to do home inspections after contract, what would happen was you get into contract, you spend all that time making adjustments to the contract, the changes back and forth. There was probably still some sit-down contract signings where it was like a closing, everyone showed up and they did the contracts in person. Even by then, though, that was pretty rare. And then 3 or 4 days later, and usually the attorney recommended the home inspection because that's when you didn't order it until after. Then the home inspection results came in, and the home inspectors weren't as thorough back then. What did the buyer want the seller to do? Because the purchase was subject to the home inspection. Here's my list. Go and fix it. What did the seller want to do? None of this ever changes. Nothing. Who ends up negotiating the changes, the repairs or the contract, or the credit? No, the attorneys would do it. Now imagine the attorneys working with attorneys now and how long it takes them to get on the same page with changes in a contract sign to negotiate out. Well, we'll fix the missing GFCI in the bathroom, but we don't think the refrigerator should be part of it. There's a limit of $250 in the contract. Yeah, but that's if it's broken at closing. This is the home. What about the broken window? What broken window? It's been like that. It was like that already. It's like, oh my God. And then you would legitimately be in an argument over whether or not that was known to the buyer or not. It was brutal. And the attorneys were terrible at negotiating because a lot of times the attorneys aren't, if they're like, if they're real estate attorneys, they all know how it's going to end. They might start where they start, but everybody already knows, walkthrough issues, right? That's what essentially this was. All right, I'm going to say this and he's going to say that, but we're going to give him the $500, right? We're not giving him 1,000, but we'll give him 500. So everybody yells at each other for a half hour and then you give them they take the clients outside and say, you just got to do it. But if they're litigators, this is an attorney who usually is doing court stuff or divorce attorneys who are doing the real estate transaction. They might not understand like this is just how it's going to go, but they get stuck arguing for the sake of arguing. And that's what it would kill more deals than before. So what do we always tell you about? The attorneys hate this. CEOs and any kind of, once everyone's in the contract, none of that stuff comes up for if you know about it, you got to tell everyone. But if you don't know that there's an open permit for the garage, you didn't expect that. It's been there for 50 years. It's been sold twice. 2 weeks before the closing, you'll be figuring out how to deal with the open permit. You know how it'll end up going? How's it end up going? Credit. Sellers gives over $2,500. The buyer never does anything about it. 25 years from now, when the buyer sells the house, what's he going to have? an open permit on the garage. What's he gonna do? He's gonna give the $5,000 credit because his house just sold for 2 million.
First conversation, the attorney's like, no escrow.
I was gonna say, I'm not-
Anything but an escrow. No escrow. What happens when you escrow? All right, the seller, the attorney will hold 5,000 or 10,000, and we'll get an expediter and they'll do this. What ends up happening?
That happens. Well, he sits there forever.
The expediter starts doing his job, but who stops calling back the expediter? The buyer, the new owner, because they don't want to deal with the inspection. Oh, what do you mean I couldn't put up a pool in a 12 by 12 shed? Now, well, what does that have to do with that? And now it's like years of this. Or I know, thanks for getting the CO for the garage closed out, but I got to tell you, the boiler's like been on the fritz ever since I moved in. Well, too bad. Well, I'm not agreeing to release the escrow because and now I'm fixing a boiler, no escrows. Also, post possession, seller says, hey, I want to close and I get 5 days to stay in the house. Yes, hopefully that escrow amount was already negotiated in the contract, because usually it's a lot lower if it's done ahead of time, maybe $2,500. I just want you to understand, Mr. Seller, if you're not out by the closing, there's going to be that money held in escrow, and I want you to expect you don't get it back. That's kind of just the cost of doing. What do you mean? They're going to move in. They're going to find that switch that none of us realize, but it doesn't do anything. They're going to throw a fit that it doesn't work. And now we're going to be fighting over a repair list post-closing after they've moved in and got possession of the house. And you're not going to get your 2,500 or at least a portion of it back, because that's how it always goes. So could you have the mover store your stuff and go stay at a hotel for a week? Is there another solution here? If not, it is what it is. But escrows, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. It ain't a problem.
And God forbid they open the pool and there's still money in escrow.
Because every time anyone who has a pool, what happens when you open it? Something's broken. Sprinklers. You turn on the sprinklers the first time, at least one head is missing. Another one is spraying in the air. It's
Typed up 2-page escrow agreement for something serious.
Yeah.
Don't let your client with the handwritten, unless it's about an unpaid water bill, don't let it be handwritten.
Yeah. It's never a good thing. All right. Seller list too high. Now what do we have to do? Start lowering the price. Is that ever good? You're chasing the market. What do all these dummy buyers say when they see a house has been listed now for 90 days with 2 price reductions? Is there something wrong with the house? Did you have any, the agents will ask, did you have any failed inspections? Is that what's going on? I'm not going to get into, because you're not going to say yes. You're not allowed to say no if that is true. So now you're in a mess. Maybe they believe you, maybe they don't. But if you're getting that as a concern at the open house or at the showing or after an agent shows it, how many people have skipped it because they had the same concern? In Congress, they have a formula, congressmen, Congress people. One phone call is equivalent to 100 people feeling the same way. One email is equivalent to 25 people feeling the same way. One in-person visit is like 1,000 people coming to your office to say the same thing. They have this formula. So if somebody's bringing this concern to you, well, it's been listed for 90 days and hasn't sold, that's a huge percentage of the market is feeling the exact same way, and they never even bothered to go see the house. What are we seeing in Florida? Florida's market it hasn't bottomed out yet, but it is sinking like a rock. So more and more of those people we're seeing in Florida, when they have to reduce their price, are actually just taking it off the market. Do you want to be a listing agent that takes the overpriced house, does the photos, does the open houses, all that? In years past, agents would just do that. They would overprice a house to get the listing, knowing I got a 1-year listing agreement. They'll end up reducing. But what are we seeing humans do now? Well, I'm sort of tent-poled into $8.99. That's what you told me it was worth. I'll just take it off the market. I got a 2.5 interest rate, and I'll try again next year. By the way, you probably only got a 4 or 6 month listing agreement, because that seems to be pretty common right now. So you didn't get the listing. You just wasted your time. Why are homes coming off the market? These are kind of the same thing. Did not receive offers at the price. Market conditions were not favorable. Well, they only care if it affected them, which is price. So that's what's happening. Then you have, yeah, we wanted to sell our house, but then when I started looking, all the houses I could afford were overpriced. These are kind of the more natural ones. I decided to rent instead of sell. Yeah, sure. Change of personal circumstances, of course, and then kind of like I hated my agent. You might be moving. We talked about death and divorce. Those are you must sell. This is obviously you could rent, I guess, but you're going to sell. Other people, maybe it's job loss or they're getting relocated or whatever, they have to sell. So we want to make that happen in the easiest way possible. What about, do people like selling their house? Is it fun to sell your house? Lorraine, would you like to have strangers walk through your house daily? Lorraine thinks every human she doesn't know is a walking petri dish of filth. So she knows it. She knows it. People don't like having strangers come in their home. How many of us like are looking through the blinds when somebody parks in front of our house? What are they doing here? Imagine them coming in, right? It's uncomfortable. It's annoying to have to flush all the toilets, put all the seats down, empty the garbages, run around your house picking up the shoes somebody left out every time before a showing. And you might do that twice a day. And then you have the open house, you got to leave. I got to take my dog. It's not fun. So you need the seller to understand once you decide you do want to sell your house, you want that to happen in the shortest amount of time possible. And the good news is, based on the market here on Long Island, it's probably going to happen in either one weekend or 2 weekends. You probably will be done showing your house in 2 weeks. We've shortened the process. Now, as agents, would you feel like you really could take 3 listings on the same day right now? It'd be
Wow.
not really, not without help. Why? Because the whole process went from this long to this short. So it's a really intense week or two, but then it's over, right? So as long as you're taking those listings kind of staggered, how do you do that? Oh, the photographer's busy this week, but I have Monday. You could stagger them. And what a good problem to have. So explain to your sellers that we want to make this over as fast as possible. The best way to do that is price it properly. Here's the range, here's my strategy, and here's how I think it's going to work so that it's over fast. It's not just about getting your home sold, it's about doing it with what? What do we say in every listing appointment? My goal for you is to get your house sold in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money with the least amount of stress. Does that align with what you're looking to do? Unless they're not, because you already knew that from the step one. My goal for you is get you the best price while driving your ex-spouse absolutely bonkers. Yeah, that you understand. We're gonna skip the minute with Mark. It's never a minute. Cameron, you want to say hello quick?
Yeah, I'll give a little spiel. So I'm Cameron, Cross Country Mortgage. Most of you guys know me. So I won't go on and on about all
We'll
the
stand in
stuff,
front of the.
all the stuff that we offer. Most of you guys know that. So I'll give you a quick rundown on interest rates, what to expect. So as of today, we are sitting around 6.25% nationally on average for a conventional 30-year fixed rate mortgage. FHA, VA loans, they're in like the high fives. So start having those conversations with people. People are seeing rates in the high fives. I'm doing refinances. People can pay points to buy down their rate. So that 6% benchmark is a huge, huge kind of like number that people are gauging for refis, getting back into the market. So we're right there. We're not far off. In terms of the market itself, right now we are in a government shutdown. We're in the 4th week of it. It doesn't necessarily affect real estate as a whole, but with the interest rate market, it is delaying all of the economic data releases. So that's the jobs report, that's the inflation data that has been influencing rates for the past 6 months, 12 months. So when that data does come out, the government shutdown will end. It's gonna really make things volatile, and that could be beneficial or it could be bad. It could reverse rates up to 6.5, 6.7, or it could send them down to 5.75, 5.5. So that's something to keep on your radar in the coming weeks and months. We do have a Fed decision next week. The Fed is expected to cut interest rates again for the 2nd time this year. There is another Fed meeting in December. So all of that economic data really will come into play. And just as a reminder, when the Fed cuts interest rates, mortgage rates do not go down. So you see in the news, hey, rates got cut 0.25%. just so you know, the last time rates were cut in September, rates actually went up 0.25% in the following week. So just kind of keep that in your minds if you speak to buyers. So yeah, it's just all good news. Does keep people thinking about real estate as a whole. And then going kind of off of Sal, he does have a client he's been working with for like a year now, finally under contract. One of the things with their transaction was a contingency clause because they do have to sell their home for the proceeds. So we've talked about this once before. We do offer bridge loans. So a big kind of saving grace when you go into your listing presentations, or if you're having that conversations with people about selling their home first. They don't always have to sell their home first or even line it up. These bridge loans that we offer, it's a 4-month loan that would actually allow them to use the equity from their home before they sell it to use towards the down payment on the new house. So with Sal's transaction, we're going to try and line it up where he sells the other property, they can use the proceeds and everything works out. But in our back pocket, say things don't work out with the sale and there's a problem or the buyer falls apart or deal falls apart. Now we have this option where the buyers, his buyers can pay. It's going to come out to like $7,000, $8,000 extra in interest, but they can close on the new purchase, move into it, and then within the next 3-4 months, close on that sale, pay it off, and it's one seamless kind of transition. So that's one thing, again, with these kind of situations where the market's kind of, do I want to list my house or when do I do it? It's a great way to just kind of say, hey, this is an option that we have available in like a worst case scenario. So what we do on that end is we submit the bridge loan application. If they don't end up needing it, we just withdraw it. And there's no extra costs, no kind of downsides whatsoever. So I have some paperwork. I printed out just some payment examples and stuff. I'll give them to you guys. Just some baselines for like borrowing $100,000, $200,000. So you can see that, and then you could kind of portray it to your realtors.
With the government shutdown, are you able to close FHA and VA loans?
Yeah, we can. The only issue I'm having right now is a VA condo. VA cannot review the financials and stuff, so they already advised us. I have a client, they're already 3 weeks into the process. They told us early December is probably the best case. So that's a VA condo, but otherwise VA loans, FHA loans, all pretty much standard. If it drags out a little longer, we might start seeing some more issues, but
And then flood insurance, if they need the federal flood
yeah,
insurance.
flood insurance is one thing. And then, I mean, on the back end, like social security payments and stuff, people are getting delayed. So you're getting some people that just don't have all their normal income or money. So, I mean, there's no real deadline. It's like the 4th or 5th longest one in history as of right now. So we'll see kind of how much longer it plays out.
It's the most efficient the government's ever run.
By the way, Cameron mentioned VA loans. It is something you should have as part of your buyer consultation, because what county in America has the highest percentage of, the highest number of veterans? Suffolk County has more veterans living in it than any other county in the country. So it's a relatively populated county, historically a little lower in net worth. Long Island has a ton, but Suffolk's number 1. Everybody thinks like somewhere in Texas. All right, everyone, have a good week.